One of the neat takeaways from a sport is this understanding of home field advantage or familiarity to a situation. If you go back and look at statistics, I'm sure you will see that sports teams do much better in their home field than they do away. And we can actually apply that principle even to being a student or at work or in life, that this understanding of being in the home field or being familiar to a situation, to a place, is something that we can really apply to create success. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. As a young person who had to start to travel for education when I was young, and then eventually as I went to meet suppliers and customers, both here in the US and internationally, I needed to think in terms of how I was going to be able to use this particular situation or this understanding of familiarity when I was not at my home field. It's one thing when you are in a familiar situation, how do you apply yourself? So when you're traveling and you're taking a client out to eat, make sure that you're finding a place that is already familiar to you. So if you are not familiar, you might have to go to that place earlier. When I visit a customer, I try to stay very close to where the customer is located. I try to go the day before. I try to get a good night's sleep. I also then make sure that if I do go the day before, I will also figure out how to get to from where I'm staying to the particular customer. Why do I do that? Because I want to become much more familiar with that situation and reduce the issues of variability of what's going to happen on that day. So these are important concepts in every business book. One of the books that actually talks about it is the book called The Rainmaker. It's a great book to read regarding sales and business development. And in that book, it really talks to you in terms of how you apply this principle in a customer situation, especially if you're taking somebody out to eat. If you have to order a glass of wine, how you would do that. You do not want to do that on the first time you want to do that is not when you're having that dinner in front of that customer. You want to be familiar with exactly what it is that you're going to do. So I would say this understanding of home field advantage and being familiar in a situation is something that is extremely important. But I also want to make sure that I caution you, because sometimes I find that people use familiarity or being familiar in a negative way. I have seen in social situations, with customers, with elders, sometimes you can become too familiar. There is this understanding that familiarity breeds contempt. So you have to be careful, when you're in a situation, especially when there may be people who are older, people who are more senior than you. It's important that you are still conducting yourself in a way that doesn't allow this understanding of being too familiar to come out. So there is a balance in all of this, that we need to understand familiarity, make sure that we are prepared to have that home field advantage to work for ourselves, but also understand, and I would caution you, not to become too familiar with the situation or too casual with the situation. I've seen this happen with young people where they can be too casual because they feel like they're familiar in a situation. And sometimes you may have a relationship with a leader, with a boss socially, but that's not necessarily appropriate when it comes to dealing in a business situation. So I would urge you to make sure that you're using this understanding of being familiar or familiarity wisely when you're applying it in your work situation, in a life situation. Understand what it is that you're going to do and make sure that you're being prepared so that you can be consistent in the way that you're going to show up in that situation.